As the U.S. heats up the new Cold War on China, which I'm going to talk about today, it is also turning Africa into a major zone for proxy conflict. And the U.S., just as it has over decades supported coup d'etats around Latin America and Asia, similarly, in Africa right now, the U.S. is continuing to support more and more coups d'etat. In my last stream, I talked about the coup in Guinea and the fact that this strategic country in West Africa, so now we're on the other side of Africa from Ethiopia and Eritrea. We're over on the West African side. And there was a coup in Guinea, this important country with a lot of natural resources, which we'll talk about in a second. The U.S. backed a military coup. And of course, the New York Times insists that the fact that the leader of that military coup was not only trained by the U.S. military, but in fact, his units were in the process of being trained while he did the coup. Well, according to the New York Times, the U.S. government mouthpiece, that is just a total coincidence. You know, there's nothing to see here. No ties here between the fact. Don't make any links between the fact that U.S. Special Forces were training the elite military unit in Guinea that carried out the coup exactly when it overthrew the president and carried out the coup. Nothing to see here. Just the New York Times continuing to cover for the U.S. empire. That's all it ever does, because the New York Times is basically state media. Now we should ask, why would the U.S. care so much about Guinea? Well, Guinea is very strategically important. Again, this is over in West Africa now. This is a map here you can see showing some of the natural resources in Guinea. You can see they have bananas, coffees, oil palms, pineapples, peanuts. Now, I mean, the U.S. has access to many of those things. But more importantly here is the second column, including bauxite. Now, bauxite is an extremely important mineral, and it's the main ore. It's the ore that's needed to make aluminum and also alumina, which is similar. So this is used in countless electronics and machines and other things that use aluminum. So many things. And of course, food packaging and so many other things. They also have iron ore and diamonds. Now, I mentioned bauxite. That is extremely important. And if you look at what mining websites have been saying about bauxite, you can see that it's confirming exactly what I'm saying. And it's not some crazy conspiracy theory. Here is Mining Weekly. This is not some communist anti-imperialist website. Mining Weekly. Here we go. Guinea's junta pledges continuity on mining policies after coup. What a coincidence. After a U.S.-backed coup led by military figures who were not only trained by the military, but they were literally being trained by the U.S. military during the coup, their military rulers provided strong reassurance to mining companies at a meeting Thursday after last week's coup, said an official at the nation's biggest bauxite producer. The new leadership reinforced the message from their first speech, reassuring the mining sector about its importance and that miners will be allowed to continue their activities, said the general manager of Société Minière de Bauxite, said it by phone from the capital, Conakry. So this is everything. This is the most important priority. This is, of course, one of the reasons that the U.S. backed a coup there. Here, Guinea is the largest exporter of bauxite, a raw mineral used to make aluminum. The West African country generates most of its revenue from mining exports, which have helped it to maintain annual economic growth rates of more than 6% over the past 5 years. The junta lifted a curfew in mining areas shortly after the coup and urged companies to keep operating, keeping the nation's ports open. Says so much. Now, who are some of the key investors in Guinea, which I want to stress this point, has the largest bauxite reserves on Earth? They stress here key investors in Guinea, which supplies about 20% of the world's bauxite, include Russia and China. There you go. I mean, it couldn't be that much clearer. And actually, I guess I lied. It could be a little clearer. And let me show one of the most blatant examples of this imperialist organization just boasting of the fact that basically this was a coup for bauxite, just as the coup in Bolivia was partially a coup for lithium. As the new Cold War heats up, these mineral proxy fights are going to become more and more transparent. And here is ASPI, the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. This is funded by Western governments. It's basically a cutout for the Australian military. It's also funded by US arms corporations and European arms corporations, as you can see here. Some of the biggest US and European arms corporations, including Lockheed Martin, the death profiteer. Title: Military coup could cruel China's plans for mining in Guinea. What a coincidence. It talks about the special forces that took control of the country, of course, not mentioning they were trained by the US. And they pointed out that China, the foreign ministry, immediately called for the president, that is Alpha Conde, his immediate release. So this is an example of China openly condemning the coup. Now, why? Here we go. This is a Western military cutout stating it very explicitly. The first is the extent to which Guinea's coup impacts China's long-term strategy to diverse its iron ore suppliers. Part of that strategy has involved turning to Africa. With two of Beijing's top 15 suppliers, South Africa and Mauritania, already in Africa, Chinese companies are also studying reserves in these other countries throughout Africa. However, Guinea is unique. A mineral-rich country, its 100-kilometer-long Simandou mountain range holds an estimated 8.6 billion tons of iron ore, graded at more than 65.6%, seen to be one of the world's last untapped high-grade reserves. Also, important point, this was mentioned, the Simandou mountain range. The Guinean government has used this potential for Chinese investment in a major 650-kilometer railway project, a deep water port, and related facilities as part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. So this is explicitly stating from the mouth of a Western military cutout that the US government helped back a coup in Guinea in West Africa to overthrow the president, to basically remove an ally of China that was involved in the Belt and Road Initiative and was one of the main, it was the top supplier of bauxite, which is used to make aluminum, to both China and Russia. So we talk about the lithium coups in Bolivia. Well, now we should talk about the bauxite coup in Guinea. And here is the Aluminum Association. This is a lobbying group representing the aluminum industry in the United States, certainly not some kind of anti-imperialists. And they talk about how aluminum is the most common metal found on Earth, 8% of the planet's crust. However, the metal is too reactive with other elements to occur naturally. Bauxite ore, refined through two processes, is the primary source of aluminum. And here it is, Bauxite 101. Bauxite ore is the world's main source of aluminum. So, I mean, it's absolutely clear how important this is in all economies in the world. And the US just put a huge monkey wrench into the Belt and Road by removing an ally that was working with China in mutually beneficial relations to provide some of those materials to help build infrastructure, which of course the US never does, never builds infrastructure. It destroys infrastructure through bombing campaigns and economic warfare. Well, this is another way in which the new Cold War is escalating in a lot of ways.